Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Live. We're going to be streaming here on YouTube as well as TikTok. We're going to be doing a live breakdown today. And everybody, welcome for being here. We're going to be doing it kind of on the fly, but I have a lot of information about this Hana Kobayashi case. And if you guys follow me on Instagram, right when she was reported missing, I shared this story because it really hit me in my heart because I know someone who went through something similar who was really close to me, and I have a lot of stuff to say about this. However, let's start with some of the latest updates, and then we're going to go backtrack and go through some of the details because I know some people who'll be coming here watching this later, they want the new details first. So let's get to that right away. This is Hana Kobayashi. As you guys know, she is a missing person who has now been declared voluntarily missing by the LAPD, which means that they're no longer looking for her because they have reason to believe that she is voluntarily missing. So that means she's an adult and that she's allowed to make her own decisions. Also, I want to let you guys know we're going to be handling this situation with a lot of care because this is a person. This person is presumably still alive. This person has presumably made their own decisions. So this is not going to be your sensationalized video with a bunch of crazy theories. Okay. So I'm telling you right off the bat, I know someone who is in a similar situation. It still hurts me to this day to have experienced that. And in these type of situations, it can't make sense. If there is a mental health crisis going on, it will never make sense to someone who is okay. So I want to start with that little disclaimer. But the first and foremost thing is that it has been announced, LAPD has given a statement. Hana Kobayashi the picture was released today, her on her way to Mexico. So this is her in the Greyhound station in downtown LA. And as we see, she has passport in hand. As what was said in those text messages, she is traveling alone. She has her luggage. And what we know from there's a guy on Twitter who has been doing a excellent deep dive. He's a private investigator. He had some inside info. He was the first person to release this information that she's in Mexico. Now, this image from the surveillance is from, let's see. This is him, SF Investigates. He is a private investigator. He's done an excellent job covering this case. And so he said that she was reported missing on the 11th. The case was assigned to the detectives on the 13th. She was already in Mexico by the 12th. So by the 12th, before this was ever brought to the police, brought to LAPD, she was already out of LA. She was already out of the country. So she was not running from the search efforts and she was already gone. Okay. Also, remember, at this point, as of 1 day ago, when this is being posted, he said that Hana is not wanting to be found at this point. And we'll get a little bit more into that later because I have some personal stuff to say about that. But let's get into some of these, some of this information. So she purchased this ticket at 6:35 a.m. from LA Union Station to San Ysidro and boarded a bus. She was traveling alone, showed no visible signs of distress, and she provided ID, purchased the ticket. And when she purchased this ticket, she stated that she did not have a phone for a contact number. This information did not come through a third party. Without going into specifics, I can confirm that they obtained it directly from the Greyhound corporate, okay? It was time for the truth to come out. Too many people were volunteering their time and donating money under false pretenses. So this happened November 12th. So people have been looking for her. This was also how long before her father was found dead? They had been looking for her for nearly 2 weeks when this footage had already existed. Now, not saying that they found it immediately, but obviously she used her ID to buy the Greyhound ticket. So to do that search, obviously it would have taken some days. But by the point that her father had taken his own life, we already know where she was. Okay. 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 Now, there was also some other surveillance footage seen of her where she was with a man. Okay. And they said people were believing that this was a trafficking situation. Now, this person is known to the family, okay? He's been informed, this private investigator, not directly by the family, that Hannah's family is aware and has been aware of the identity of the man that was seen with her in unreleased surveillance footage. So the news got out that there was unreleased footage and that there was a man in the videos. The family and the police had already been aware that they had the identity of this man and that the family knows who this guy is. However, all of these search efforts and GoFundMe and web sleuths and the media continued to say that they had belief that this was trafficking. Okay. To the public and searchers, they stated that they did not know. And he believes this is a critical point that the press agencies should address because it could significantly change the dynamics of this case. So he posted that on the 23rd. So since the 23rd, we've known that the man that she was with is known by her and by the family. Also, so now let's get into a couple of little beginning stuff here. Okay, let's go back and go to the beginning. Now, one of the things too, but which I will just show you because this is, I think, what kind of made the case. This is what kind of made the case. I have a whole bunch of stuff here. Let's see. This is what made the case so significant is this right here. Is that her last text messages to her friend were Matrix underworld shit girl. This is way beyond me. Okay. And now you guys might remember, let me pull this up. And then I'll go back and we'll start at the beginning for everybody who is wants other details on the case but let me pull up this other woman which is let's see. Now, we're going to get into this as well. Where is that? Sorry. Like I said, I'm doing this on the live fly because you know what? I don't need to do this pre-edited video. I know my breakdowns, okay? I know my deep dives. I don't need to spend 3 days editing a video. Is this the Hannah Kobayashi case? Yes. If you guys want, we're pulling up slides on YouTube. So if you want to come to JK Ultra YouTube, you'll be able to see the slides. So the reason why this, I think, also stirred up a lot of information is because they talked about there was a spiritual awakening. And one of her last text messages before she went missing was some Matrix underworld shit. Now, you guys might remember the case of Erin Valenti, who was the founder of a Silicon Valley tech company. She was in Silicon Valley at a meeting with a whole bunch of big tech people. Her company worked with all of these things, like all of these huge companies. As you can see here, I'll just zoom into some of the names. So this was like a venture company, neuroscience and behavior, biomechanics, all of this stuff. She was this big up and coming CEO. And on October 1st of 2019, she went to Orange County for an event, a 3-day seminar. Then she drove up to Silicon Valley to meet with some higher up people in the tech world. And then, let me pull this up. Here's what I have as the breakdown. She was 33 years old. And then what happened, she went to Silicon Valley, met with these high up people, and then she started making strange calls and text messages to her family. And she said, it's all a game. It's a thought experiment. We're in the Matrix. Are you in on it? And those were some of the last things where before she was found dead in her car, a rental car. And so we're going to get a little bit into that too, because there's some some similarities in these cases, but let's go back to Hannah and start at the beginning. Let's go back. Mhm. Okay, one other crazy thing before we get into this stuff with Hannah. Okay, let me pull this up. Where is my case? Okay. Share this. Okay, so one other thing too, let me go to lawyer. Okay. So, one thing that's also crazy, which is breaking news for today about the Hannah case, and like I said, we're going to go back to the beginning and walk through step by step because there might be some stuff that you missed. However, I know most people that'll be clicking on this later already have the basic information, and then we have time to go over it. So, look at this. Interesting to see as of today, this is from SF Investigates, the guy who's been reporting on it, that Azari Law is now representing Hannah and her family. Does it imply that Hannah is in touch with her lawyer, given counsel, and has been retained? I strongly disagree with the decision to continue public search for someone who is voluntarily missing. This approach essentially turns Hannah into a trophy, which is both inappropriate and counterproductive. If a search is truly necessary, it should be conducted by professionals capable of locating her and approaching her in a matter that involves mental health professionals, assuming that she should be searched for at all. Untrained searchers operating outside of the country could induce stress and drive Hannah further away, potentially putting her in harm's way and getting themselves jailed or killed. If she is indeed retained legal counsel, which I assume she is not under a conservatorship and now has counsel, coordination should happen through her attorney. Now, what's really interesting is her attorney is this woman. Like, very strange, a little bit weird that this woman is now the attorney for Hannah and her family. And so this is Sarah Azari. She's a high profile white collar crime uh attorney from Los Angeles. A little weird. No. I Stop bothering me with requests, okay? I don't want to we're not sharing. No. Okay. So this is just weird. She does a lot of these high profile cases, so I don't know what that's about, but let's go back to the beginning here. Let's go through. Let's see. I just want to look at the comments for a second. Yep. Thanks, Natasha. Don't forget to like the live. Did she have a history of mental illness? So this is the thing. Her family claims that she does not. That remove that, not me. So the family claims that she has never had a history of mental illness and also that she does not partake in drugs. Now, this is the thing that is a little, yeah, she is missing. She was never found. Well, she's been located in multiple locations. So, yeah, leave it to the professionals. So that's a thing. So I have talked about this a little bit before. Is some of you guys know that someone that was very close to me, I won't name the relationship, um, for potentially, I don't want to identify the person, but someone who was very, very, very close to me. I was like the closest person to this person. We spent so much time together. And one day in LA, where this crazy energy does happen sometimes, everything changed. And unless you have experienced someone that you know very closely go into psychosis, it is impossible to understand. And when this first started happening, I knew this person better than anyone, and I knew this person didn't do drugs. So when people were saying that sounds like drugs or that sounds like this, I'm like, no, it can't be. Like, I know them. I know their whole history of everything. I know everything that's ever happened to them in their whole life. This is impossible. And so what had happened with the person in my life, completely normal, no history of mental illness, no drugs. There was this, see, you say, I think this spiritual awakening may have still, yeah, some spiritual journey. So then that's the thing too, is one of the last text messages that was received. Let me find it. One of the last text messages that was sent to her sister was that she had some spiritual awakening and now she's like going on her way. Why can't I find that one? Let me see if it's on my desktop. So yeah, that was one of the last text messages that was sent to the family, was that she's having a spiritual awakening and that basically she's on, her own journey right now. Okay, I can't find it quickly. So this is the thing, is the same thing happened with my friend as well. Is they were very oh my god, what a ridiculous, I'm so sorry. What a ridiculous theory. Do you think she went to get cosmetic surgery and is staying in nurses' quarters? What? Okay. The what? She's not a celebrity. Why would she be hiding, why why would she okay. Anyway. Oh my god. No. Okay. So what happened with my friend is they were completely normal. They were into the spirituality, heavy like I am, heavy like a lot of us are. This person started doing energy work, started having stuff coming in. This is not connected to Hannah. This is my personal story of what I witnessed and the reason why I became very invested in what happened to Hannah before we had these details. One of the first days I was posting it on Instagram and being like, please, you guys in LA, keep an eye out for this woman, because with the person that happened, it happened with me. They started doing all of this stuff, and the veil is so thin. The veil between the truth of the reality and spirituality, the matrix, and insanity is like the finest line that you could ever cross. This is why you have this term like spiritual psychosis, because it is the finest line. And in the beginning of this happening to the person that I was very close to, um, at first it was like kind of normal, because also like I'm into a lot of this stuff too. So it didn't seem super out there for me. And within days, it completely deteriorated to the point that they became homeless. And the same thing like Hannah, where I got that person to their family. I contacted their family and we got them on a plane within 48 hours to their family. And I still think to this day, like if we didn't get them on that plane, which trust me, the same thing like Hannah didn't want to get on the plane was the same thing that happened with this person. Those messages that she was sending are almost identical to the type of messages that the person I know was sending. And it was like, oh, I had a spiritual awakening. There's some crazy matrix stuff happening. And then all of a sudden, uh, I had then discovered that drugs were involved. This is someone who didn't do drugs, never had done drugs. That's why when they were going through this, I'm like, no, it must be something else. It can't be drugs. I know them. They don't. So sometimes it's the most difficult to people that know you the closest, because other people in my life were like, it sounds like there might be something else going on. And I'm like, no, it could never be. This person doesn't do drugs. This person doesn't have a mental history. And then when I realized what was going on, I contacted their family. We got them on a plane within 48 hours. And those days, they kept saying, I have to get rid of my phone. I have to get rid of material possessions. I hate this thing. I need to throw my phone out. I'm going to throw my phone out. And I'm like, please do not throw your phone out. Please keep the phone. So this is why when Hannah was last pinged at LAX on her phone, she probably threw the phone out. This is like the number one thing when people start to go through a psychosis. The phone is gone. The material possessions are gone. That is just like number one. And unless you have seen someone that was completely normal, then go into that state, it's such a mind fuck. Like it literally still years later, I'm still not okay with what I saw of happening to a person. And unless you have seen someone that you know closely go through psychosis, I'm seeing people posting online like, well, if she was having a spiritual awakening, why would she go to Mexico? How is she traveling without stuff? How does she not have a phone? How does she not have money? I'm like, the person that I know, we got them back to their family. They were okay for they went into they put them in the hospital. The hospital released them because they were not a danger to themselves, although they gave them medication. The person stabilized. And then about 6 months or so later, the family reached out to me again and said, "Have you heard anything?" And I was like, "No, I haven't heard from them." And this person was in Chicago, found in Indiana, then was in Ohio, then made it back to LA, and then eventually was found by police in Vegas. This was the person I knew had no ID, no money, no phone, nothing, Not a single possession. How did this person that was in psychosis get to all these states with no money, no ID, no nothing? So people are like, how is she doing this without the resources? Oh my, well, trust me, until you have seen it, it is very difficult to believe. So let's go through the step by step of the whole Hannah story. And let me pull this up. So that's why when this first started happening, it really like hit me in the stomach because I have seen this happen to multiple people in LA and it's just so devastating. Like it's so beyond devastating. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is not the one I'm looking for. Looking for the other one. Why am I still? Oh, okay. That's something else. People going crazy in airports. Now, there might be something wrong also with the airport situation because for some reason, psychosis is very upticked connected to airports. I know that there's a lot of stress from flying that could potentially add to it, but why is this such a common occurrence? Okay, here we go. So here's the series of events. So on November 8th, 9:53 p.m., Hannah lands at Los Angeles Airport from Maui. She has a connecting flight to New York 1 hour later from 11 p.m. So she had an hour and 7 minutes before leaving. Obviously, that's barely enough time to like get, on the plane. Obviously you're close in LAX, but still, usually a plane starts boarding, an hour before it actually takes off. Now, the next day, November 9th, from noon to 3 p.m., she's seen at the Grove Shopping Center, specifically at Toshin Books, charging her phone. 2:43 p.m., sends a photo from the bookstore to her aunt. That evening, she's spotted again at LAX, and then she conducts the Venmo transactions to two unknown individuals. Now, let's go to the pictures because I have some different pictures about what happened there. Let's go back to the pictures. Doing this on the fly as quickly as I can. Okay. So here we go. Let's look at some of this stuff. Okay. So what we know about what she was on the flight, okay? So there's some speculation about her on the flight. So we have her. What was talked about is that she was flying with her ex-boyfriend on this plane. And he made the connecting flight and made it to New York City. She did not make the connecting flight to New York City. His identity has not been revealed, but anyone here on TikTok, come over to YouTube, JK Ultra on YouTube, because we have the screenshots of these things, okay? So the tickets were purchased with her ex-boyfriend before they broke up, but they decided to go on the trip anyway because they were non-refundable. So this trip that she went on with the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, is because it was already booked and they were not refundable. So they were on the same flight, but they were expected to part ways once they were in New York. Now, here else. We saw her that day in LAX, security footage. Now, one thing that was uncovered by SF Investigates, it's not showing the Tuesday Night Live. It should be if you go to JK Ultra YouTube. Okay, so this guy, he did a great job. Okay, so now here's a couple of things happening. So we have, there's questions that need clarification. So one, Hannah was legally married to a guy, Alan, from Argentina. Was the ex-boyfriend who was on the plane with her also married? So there's information that the guy, she's married to someone else. And then the ex-boyfriend is also married to someone else. So people are speculating if these are green card marriages. While they believe that the marriage aspect might add complexity, it's not directly related to her being missing. So she is legally married, and the ex-boyfriend is also legally married. Now, let's go to the text messages because let's get to these texts that ended up being sent. This is a guy on TikTok who did a breakdown on it. He was the first video that I saw on it, and he did a really good job. What is his name? ETCHASKE, I believe the last word is. Okay. Okay, so these are the text messages that were sent through. She sent this to her friend. This is the friend. Where are you? This is Hannah, and this is the friend. She said, I got hacked. Hacked by who? Stripped of my identity. I can't fly. Wait, what? How did you get from LA to Maui? Okay. And then she says, let's see. I have some more of the pictures of the messages. He's in front of a lot of them. Let's see. Okay, so she says, okay, she says she got tricked into pretty much giving all of her money away for someone I thought I loved. I've been on the streets. And then she says, I might go to a homeless shelter. And then the friend says, you should go back to Maui. She says, I literally can't, love. And she said, you shouldn't be spending money to continue traveling. You have a home and you need to go back to it. Yes, you can. Where's your ID? I have it and my passport. Go buy a plane ticket to Maui. It's a really long story, hun. Can't help if I don't know what's going on. If you have an ID, you can buy a plane ticket. Go to the counter at Hawaiian Airlines. The friend also says, let me see who I can reach out into the LA area. You have no money. And she says, I have a little bit left. I just want to get on a bus wherever, whatever, straight to the Redwoods. I'm going to look for work, but I haven't slept for days. Please keep this to yourself for now and be discreet. I'm at LAX. Yeah, girl, just stay there for a bit. These are a little bit out of order, but when she said, I can't fly. Wait, what? How did you get from LA to Maui? Weird shit, babe. Explain so I can try to help. Can't go to the Po. I have stuff of value there. You can go to the police at the DMV. There are resources. I just need to rest and I'll think better. Yeah, I'm really confused. It's very complicated. Did you get catfished? Matrix underworld shit, girl. This is way beyond me. Did you get catfished by some dude you were talking to on the internet? No, we met. Can't explain all of it. Just please be open with these, please. If you can't explain it, then no, we met. If you can't explain it, then how can I trust you if you can't tell me the whole story? I'm talking to a couple people in LA, but I need to know what's going on. Deep hackers wiped my identity, stole all of my funds, and have had me on a mind fuck since Friday. They can't wipe your identity. Is this what they told you? I'm just really scared, love, and the Redwoods is calling me. And I know I'm meant to be there. I'm being guided there like you something before. I risked my freedom for this. Okay. This is a different message. Okay. So let's see. Then this guy reached out to her sister and said, have you ever heard her say hun before? Not really. She says love a lot or babe if she's speaking to someone close. There's another text message that I cannot find. I thought I had screenshotted. But there's a text message to the sister around the same time that says, there's a text message to the sister around the same time that says, we are having I'm having a spiritual awakening. I like need to find myself. I'm like on a journey right now, basically. Yeah, you said someone's pretending to be her. See, well, this is the thing. This is the exact type of stuff that the person that I know that went into a very similar psychosis in the same situation. We had to get them to LAX to get them back to their family. At LAX, they got there and they were trying to leave. And I was on the phone with them and I was like, please stay on the phone with me until you are on the plane. And then they started making up scenarios. So What it sounds like the mindfuck since Friday, I think that she probably maybe met someone, hung out with someone. Now, according to SF guy, this sounds like this sounds, you see, according to several sources closer to her, let's pull this up. According several close to her, psychedelics and drugs are part of her life. I've also been told that she is estranged not only from her now deceased father, but from several family members as well. The male she was seen with is known. So whoever this guy is, her family knows who it is. Okay? So the guy that she met is known to the family. Now, you guys know when I did the ayahuasca and I experienced the matrix. I've talked about this in great depth. I experienced insanity and I literally was begging Mother Aya to please bring me back. Now, a lot of other people I know who have experienced this same feeling of you merge with the matrix and you see reality for what it actually is and the veil becomes completely gone. Most other people that I've talked to that have had that same experience, they say sometimes it happens with DMT, just very short, and they say like, "Oh, I didn't want to come back." And you don't want to come back. Now, I wanted to. When I was in that matrix experience, I was like, "Please, Mother Aya, please let me come back. I want to come back to Earth." And to create a trail of deniability for their crimes. You know, from the beginning of this, because it's so close to the thing that I experienced with this person who just like that did drugs, went into psychosis. It was not doing drugs to be like bad. People think that they're on vacation. People think that they're having fun and then have a mental break. Now, there's also, I don't have the article up here, but when this was going on with my friend, um, there was an article that I found talking about the speed, the meth in LA, and how it causes 5 weeks of psychosis. And 5 weeks after this happened to the person I know, they called me sounding completely normal, not having any idea kind of the level of what happened. Like, the person 5 weeks later called me and was like, "Holy shit, what the fuck?" And there's this article about how the meth in LA basically is coming from the cartel. The cartel used to grow all of the weed, and then weed became legalized in California a long time ago. So there was still going to a lot of the country, but then eventually California became the supplier of all of the US. So the cartels have another thing to do. So what they started to do was to create meth. However, the meth that they've been creating, they don't have access to the real. I read a whole long article that took me like 45 minutes on it when this was happening, while this person that I know was in psychosis, because I was trying to find information about if this had happened to anyone else. And it was a whole investigation that this investigator had done. And he interviewed all of the people that were at the mental wards in Los Angeles. And they said that the mental wards were completely overtaken by people who had randomly smoked meth, especially people who were not users, and it takes 5 weeks for them to come out of the psychosis. And 5 weeks later, lo and behold, the person had called me and was like, "Jen, what the fuck just fucking happened to my life? I just destroyed my whole fucking life." And then, unfortunately, you know, I believe that then, things went off the deep end again. And that eventually led to them when they went missing later on, and the family contacted me like 6 months later, but I had no details at that time. So this is the thing that is, a factor of something that I have seen happen with my own eyes in this same city, same setting, same text messages. The text messages were not like super erratic that the person I knew was sending. They were text messaging pretty well because it wasn't like, yeah, I knew I was gonna get the restrictions from TikTok because, um So let's see. Let's come back to some of these slides. Let's just work through the slides and get through some of this stuff, and then we'll go back. Okay, let's work through some of these slides. Okay, here is missing. This is Hannah. Hannah. Okay. So this is the thing that is interesting as well. So Hannah posted at the event. We also know, let me go to that. Let me go to the LAX part, actually. Okay, so this is the event that she went to on November 10th. She was at this Christina Ricci tarot event. So Christina Ricci, I guess, came out with a tarot deck, did an event at the Grove at Barnes & Noble. Hannah was spotted at this event, and this is where she was seen charging her phone. Then she also posted this photo on the 10th, the same day where she was at this Nike event, LeBron James Nike event. She posted this Instagram photo on the day that she left. She sent this, or a picture of this, to her aunt, who she was going to see in New York. So this was her itinerary, where she was supposed to check into the hotel on the 9th. She was supposed to arrive at JFK at 7 in the morning. This was a red-eye flight. Settle in and ease into the Big Apple and surrounding area. Then she was going to go to Brooklyn Folk Festival, St. Anne's Church. She was going to go to this Jeff Mills. I guess, I don't know, that's like a concert or something. Honey Dijon event. And then she was going Open Flow, Go Off of Vibes, Pat Thomas at Webster Hall. These were events that she was trying to go. She was planning on spending a month in New York. Let me find these other text messages. So here is what her normal texts were like. This was in October. So she sent this text to a friend. She said, I'm going on a solo trip to New York next month. Morrissey's playing in New Jersey. I might think of taking the trek. She's going to be in Brooklyn from the 9th to the 16th. The friends don't think that the final messages are her because she didn't include emojis. The friend said, I had the screenshots with her, and the ones of those screenshots did not feel like her. The Hawaii-based freelancer said she met her in 2017 at Whole Foods. All the texts with her, they have emojis. She has a very distinct way of messaging. This is another thing from Daily Mail, where the LAPD has said that there is no evidence of human trafficking or foul play, and that she wanted life to be less complicated. I'm telling you, this is the same stuff that happened to the person that I knew. They had sent those text messages, and then by the point that then when they went missing again, their family had, when the person that I knew went missing 6 months or so later, because it happened again, they said that basically they had no ID, no phone, no money. This person traveled across all of these states, across all of the country, with no phone, no money, no ID. So it's difficult for us who live in a normal setting. Okay, yes, this is about the psychedelics. He's confident that there's nothing to do with trafficking. There are numerous details that have not been disclosed, which is unfair to the public. So this guy is a private investigator. He has more details that are not being shared. Then he says, he's been searching for her. This was earlier on. Every detail continues to raise questions about her travel itinerary. We were informed that she was flying from Maui to JFK via LAX. However, surveillance shows her deplaning at LAX without any bags, followed by footage of her leaving LAX baggage claim area with a suitcase and a backpack displaying claim tickets. If her bags were only checked to LAX, then her ticket was only booked to LAX. By law, passengers cannot check their luggage to a destination that they are not traveling to. Even if her bags were rerouted, this would mean she filed a report at LAX and remained there for at least 16 hours to retrieve them, right? Because her bags were allegedly originally checked to New York. We see of her in Mexico, on her way to Mexico, that she has the suitcase. Now, we also know that the last place that she was pinged was at LAX. Where is this? This was Hannah's last known location of anyone seeing her, which was at LAX in the terminal. Okay. This was on Monday. So she had been, let me see, look at the calendar. This was on Monday. Okay, so that would be the 11th. So she arrived on Friday. On the 11th, she was pinged here at LAX, and this was the last known location of her having a phone. I'm telling you, with everybody texting her, and if you're in that state, that's what the same stuff that my friend did. They were like, "That's it. Okay, goodbye. I'm getting rid of the phone." They did eventually end up getting rid of the phone, but thankfully, the first time that it happened to him, I'm just so grateful that we got him back to his family because okay, so this is a statement from yesterday from the LAPD, December 2nd. On December 1st, 2024, the Los Angeles Police Department Missing Persons Unit investigators traveled to the US-Mexico border where they viewed surveillance video of the United States border. Okay, hold on. The footage clearly shows 30-year-old Hannah Kobayashi crossing the United States border on foot into Mexico. She was alone with her luggage. At this time, the Kobayashi case has been classified as a voluntary missing person. Our priority is ensuring that as Mrs. Kobayashi's safety and well-being. The LAPD chief, Jim McDonald, says, we urge Ms. Kobayashi to contact her family, law enforcement, or personnel at the U.S. Embassy to let us know that she is safe. She has the right to privacy, and we respect her choices. But we also understand the concern for her loved ones, from her loved ones. A simple message could reassure those who care about her. Investigators conducted extensive witness interviews, reviewed video surveillance, and collaborated with local and federal law enforcement agencies over the past several weeks. And the Missing Persons Unit has been investigating the report of Kobayashi, who traveled pre-scheduled flight from LAX to Maui on November 8th. From November 8th to the 11th, video footage and still imagery showed her at various locations around LA. This information was subsequently verified by LAPD detectives. For unknown reasons, she decided to not board her pre-scheduled flight to New York. While she did check with her bag through to New York, she requested that her bag be sent back to her at LAX, where we have surveillance footage of her retrieving it from the baggage carousel on November 11th. That's why she was pinged at that location. So she rerouted the luggage back. The investigation further revealed that Kobayashi knowingly departed from Los Angeles International LAX on November 11th with her luggage and traveled to Union Station. While at Union Station, she used her passport to purchase a bus ticket for a destination near the Mexico border. On the morning of November 12th, she traveled by bus from the Union Station to San Ysidro, and shortly after arriving at San Ysidro, she crossed the border to Mexico. The case has attracted significant national media attention due to the concerns of Kobayashi's lack of communication with friends and family and speculation about potential involvement in human trafficking or foul play. To date, the investigation has not uncovered any evidence that Kobayashi is being trafficked or a victim of any foul play. She is not a suspect of any criminal activity. Additionally, the investigators noted that before departing from Maui, Kobayashi expressed a desire to step away from modern connectivity. I'm telling you, this is the reason this case hits me is because I literally saw this happen. And if I didn't, it would not make sense to me either. The classification of Kobayashi as a voluntary missing person reflects a careful balance between respecting her right to privacy and the absence of concrete evidence indicating foul play. The LAPD remains mindful of privacy concerns while ensuring all investigative actions are conducted within the bounds of legal and ethical standards. The LAP investigation will not continue into Mexico. However, if Kobayashi returns to the United States, law enforcement will be notified. She is encouraged to contact law enforcement or the U.S. Embassy in Mexico so officials can confirm her well-being. The missing person case will remain active in the missing persons unit system until her safety is confirmed by law enforcement. So now let's get to the stuff with her dad. So as we know, her dad came here, her family came here. So she had already been in Mexico by the 12th. By the 13th is when the investigation started. She was already out of the country by the time the investigation started. She left right away. Okay, so she was not running from the investigation. She has no phone. She's in another country. She probably doesn't even realize that all of this is going on right now, that everybody's looking for her. So now let's talk about her dad. So her dad came to Los Angeles to start a search party to look for her. And here we go. Sadly, then her dad was found dead after that. Let's see. Okay. So, father of the 30-year-old Hawaii woman who went missing in Los Angeles just over 2 weeks ago has been found dead in a parking lot near the city's airport. Ryan Kobayashi, the father of Hannah Kobayashi, was found dead by patrol officers responding to the call for a death investigation around 4 a.m. on Sunday. His official cause and manner of death is not available through Los Angeles coroner's office as of Monday. There's a group searching for his daughter, saying he died by suicide. Now, there's also, okay, so then that was tragic. He was there passing out flyers in LA. And then he was found dead, unfortunately. Now we have, um, okay. Now there's a couple things about this with this thing. Now a lot of people are saying like this is crazy now. Someone took him out. But when you look a little deeper into it, Hannah and her father had been estranged, she said. So the she in the she said is the aunt, is Hannah's aunt, the one that she had sent the picture of the itinerary to, and the one that she had sent the picture from the bookstore at the Christina Ricci event. She said there is nothing that would have stopped him, but there's nothing that would have stopped him in joining the search for her. He was estranged from his daughter. They didn't have the best relationship, and he wasn't there for her growing up. But in the end, he was there for her when it mattered, and he came here when it mattered. He was getting 30 minutes of sleep a night and tossing and turning. We suffered 2 tragedies, but we are doing our best to stay strong. Now, this is, one of the details that I see not coming up a lot when people are discussing this case is the fact that the father and her were estranged. Now, typically when people become estranged, we don't know, of course, the circumstances. However, usually in an estrangement, there's usually some type of argument, fight, final conversation that happens, right? Usually when estrangements happen, they're not like la la la, because then you're just like, oh, I haven't talked to that person in a while. When you say estranged, usually there was some type of fight, some argument, some blowout, something, which then led people to, stop talking. So, of course, yeah, there is speculation that something else could have happened here. However, imagine you're estranged from your child. Imagine you got into an argument with your daughter and were no longer speaking to her. Then she goes missing. Now they can't find her. You would probably be consumed by guilt, right? I know, that's heartbreaking. He never got to see her come back. And this is so the fact that he would take his own life, I don't think is completely outlandish because, yeah, because of the guilt. Imagine how much guilt you would have if you were not talking to your child and then they went missing and now are potentially dead. And at that time, she had not been confirmed alive yet. Now, what's messed up about this? She was already in Mexico 12 days earlier. he took his life on what day? He took his life on what day? I don't have the date. I know it was 11 days after, though. I don't have the exact date, but it was 11 days after when he took his life. So she had already been in Mexico by that point. So what's also sad is that poor Hannah doesn't even know this yet. She's off the grid, no phone, in another country. She probably doesn't realize the level of people are looking for her. Obviously, there's this spiritual element and this other element that is going on, right? There's a psychosis element and a spiritual element. So she believes that she's on some type of spiritual journey. She doesn't realize probably that everybody's looking for her because she has no communication to the outside world. She said she was getting rid of modern connectivity and obviously got rid of her phone, probably threw it away at LAX because she knew that people were going to try to stop her from what she wanted to do. All of this has happened in this time. I really hope that she did not do the same thing that the friend that I know did. The friend, like I said, the friend that I know, they were not a person who did drugs. They were just someone hanging out with someone. Oh, it's just a little bit of this. The person didn't even know that it was meth. They thought that it was just like a little bump of a little pick me up. Oh, you're tired? A little pick me up. Caused 5 weeks of psychosis, which led to this person becoming homeless and ruining their whole life and eventually going to jail and going missing for long periods of time. This is why kids do not do drugs. The drugs are not what they used to be. And, the mind is very fragile. Okay, so let's talk about this because this SF investigates something different. Now, I think with the estrangement, to be consumed by guilt is not a crazy assumption to make. But SF Investigates has some information because he has insider information. He was the one who said that they had the information about her being in Mexico. He's the one who's been sharing all the information. He's a private investigator. He has a lot of resources for this information. So I am heavily weighting, his opinion is heavily weighted. Okay, so I have read the speculation that her father's death may have not been an aliving, but rather at the hands of someone else. I went to the parking structure last night and there are multiple fisheye cameras. Additionally, the parking structure is bordered by hotels on each side that have also their own surveillance. The medical examiner was very fast in determining the manner of death, which leads him to believe that this was captured clearly on surveillance. Keeping in mind, the medical examiner has their own independent investigators separate from LAPD. Finally, most of the hotel rooftops lease out camera space to news stations, aircraft, watching YouTube channels, which are huge, watching aircraft channels. Remember, they saw that UFO the same day as Air Force One. I did a video on that a long time ago, which are huge weather stations. So there are probably many cameras that captured the activity. So this guy went to the roof where he fell from and took photos from that location. So there's multiple cameras. So he said the fact that the coroner determined it was November 24th when the father was found. So at 4 a.m. in the morning, right? So most likely they have the footage of it, which has determined, let's see. This is a message from the friend that this is unlike her. If it was voluntary, she would have made it known. She would have made it known when she was texting. I mean, sadly, she did make it known, right? She told everyone that she wanted to go. Now, this is what makes me believe that there was probably potentially drugs leading to psychosis. Well, I hope the best. I hope that she's found. I hope that she goes back to her. Now, she's not missing at this point because she has, as an adult, voluntarily left. This is why LA is such a dangerous place for this situation. Other places has the footage of her crossing the border been released? No, we haven't seen any of that footage. We've only seen a still image of her from LAX and her from the station buying the ticket to San Ysidro. LSD can last days. And this is the thing, when the person that I know did that little bump or whatever and thought that they were just doing a little pick me up, They did not sleep for like 7 days straight. And if imagine not sleeping for 7 days straight, that's the person that I know. Your mind, after 24 hours awake, 36 hours awake, your mind is already deteriorating. The mind cannot handle being awake that long. People start hallucinating, people start having a lot of stuff going on. So, she says in those text messages that she hasn't slept since Friday. This is what makes me believe that there is something with that. Like, here was one of the other things. This was her at the LeBron event. So she was found in the background of, is it up on the screen? Yeah. She was found in the background of, at this LeBron event. She was seen in the background of someone's TikTok video that was at the event. The itinerary, this was the photo. Let's see. This is what makes me believe that she probably met a guy that she knows here. I think that maybe they did a little something. I don't know what. It could have been a psychedelic. I mean, when I did the ayahuasca, I experienced the matrix. And thankfully, I was in a sacred setting. So I was able to recover. But not everybody reacts that way. I know people who have done things. Okay, so then there was people who said, um, oh, here we go. Then there was people saying that she was spotted in Venice, but this guy went and found the footage. This investigator is the real deal. I need to follow him. He is the real deal because exclusive by LA Magazine that she was spotted in Venice. He went and pulled the surveillance footage and showed that it is not Hannah. That is definitely not her. This guy is really something. Okay. He knows what he's doing. Yeah, he's the one who released that she was in Mexico because the GoFundMe was still going. People were still donating to the GoFundMe. Okay. So now let's talk about the Venmo stuff. So, at this time, on these days, November 9th, these were her last 2 Venmo transactions. Now we know she was texting the friend shortly after this. She was texting the friend shortly after this. Yeah, that my friend just had a little bump. Well, that's the thing is this is someone who never did drugs before. So, obviously they ruined their whole life. So, the manner in which led to them doing the drugs was just supposed to be something casual, and their mind completely went. They started talking about the Matrix, 5D, the spiritual awakening. I'm getting rid of my stuff. I know the truth. And he was saying people were after him at the same time. Like it can go to psychosis, you know? Like I don't know the amount that was done. I wasn't there. I only saw the after effects. And it wasn't until they came to my house that I saw them, and then I realized that drugs was the case, but because of someone that I never knew to do drugs in my whole life, and I know their whole entire life story, and I was extremely close to them, uh, I was not believing it the same way that, like, the people closest to Hannah would not believe something like that because, I was the last person to believe it was drugs because I knew the person so well. I was like, "They would never," you know? Okay, so these were the last 2 Venmo transactions at the time while she was already MIA. This was the day after she said that she got, like, screwed over, and one is Veronica Almendarez. We don't know. We were never able to identify who this person is or be able to find any information about them. We only just see that this is a bow, an arrow. Now we go back to the text messages. And she says, "No, we met. Underground shit." Let's see. Right, here it is with the one I got tricked pretty much into giving all my funds away For someone I thought I loved. I've been on the streets. For someone I thought I loved. Now, that makes me wonder, is this supposed to be like a Cupid's bow? A love reading? And then there's another one right after, reading with Jonathan Taylor. So Jonathan Taylor had a username that was the same as his TikTok. Now, this is where this gets even more tragic, to be honest with you. So this is the guy. This is the guy that was the person who owns the Venmo account. Now, this woman, what's her name? Candice Maria. Her video is down now, I believe, because I can't find it. But right when this was coming out and I was following it, this girl on TikTok, Candice Maria, excuse me, she contacted him. And okay, so a bunch of people were messaging him, a bunch of people were DMing him and saying, "Where's Hannah? What did you do? You stole Hannah's money." Hold on, TikTok playing with me again. They were saying, "You stole Hannah's money. Where is it?" So everybody starts harassing him on what happened. So he did answer to some of the comments before he turned it off. And first he said it was for this is for gas money. But then he kept saying, "I don't know Hannah. I've never met her." Turns out this guy is in Texas. He's not in California. He's not in LA. He's in Texas. Now, this woman, Candice Maria, I can't find the video. So when I go and I look at my saved videos, it says video no longer there. So I'm assuming that might be that video. So I didn't get the screenshots from it. But she messaged him and basically he has a brain injury. He's wheelchair bound, paralyzed, severe brain injury. And when she messaged him, he basically says that his account got hacked and stolen from him. Yeah, he's in a group home and lives in a wheelchair, right? So this guy got his Venmo account stolen by a scammer. And now that same scammer got Hannah through that account. Because, I mean, they're not going to use their own Venmo account, these scanners. So he said, I forget what the guy's name was because I didn't get the screenshots from it, but he said it was like this, like some African guy, like a Nigerian guy from another country, you know, something like that. And that basically, and now if you look at his page, this is the type of stuff that he reposts. He reposts a lot of these type of things. "Congratulations, you are chosen. Special message. Claim this now to get the money. Be careful on the 9th," you know? So, like, it's really sad. Like, so then as she was posting about him, I think that's why she took the video down, and then she posted communication, which said, "I'm the brother of Jonathan. My brother is a quadriplegic and does suffer from a traumatic brain injury. This isn't the first time Jonathan has been caught up in a scam. Definitely a first involving a missing person. I do not talk to him on a regular basis because he has seriously gone off the deep end with the tarot readings and lives his life based on his horoscope. He even thought that I was going to kill him at one time. The boy is definitely not capable of doing something like this, although it doesn't surprise me that he inadvertently got caught up with this scam." She has another message from his sister. "This is Jonathan's sister. I can tell you that you guys are barking up the wrong tree. My brother is a quadriplegic who has no means of transportation and lives in a group home. I certainly 1000% believe he has been taken advantage of, but certainly has no connection to this." So honestly, it's devastating because the type of people, this is the man here, the type of people who are victims of these things, you know, now this guy was someone that was obviously not well. And then the person who scammed Hannah out of this also took advantage of a person who we believe was not well at that time. And what she says in that message is she got all of her money taken away for someone that she thought she loved. Yeah, laundering money through a quadriplegic, that's low. Yeah, I don't even think it's laundering. I think it's just typical the scam stuff that happens on TikTok, and Instagram. They've scammed people using my name, even like now I really think back to the time that I posted on TikTok and I found that they were scamming this guy, that this guy was scamming people using my name. And then I contacted the guy. I found his phone number and I called him and he was telling me he got hacked. And now I'm rethinking everything because now I'm like, oh my God, what if that guy actually was hacked and people were hacking through his PayPal account? Yeah, I have deep regrets now because I still felt that there was something about the situation I didn't know. And gosh, I freaking ripped that guy a new one on the phone. And now I feel terrible because I'm like, oh my God, what if he was telling the truth about being hacked? He's like, my PayPal got hacked by scammers. And I was like, oh, please. He's like, I'll prove it to you. I said, how are you going to prove to me that your account is not yours? You could just pretend to not log in. Now I feel bad. After seeing this level, I'm like, oh God. So they're taking people's Venmo's account and PayPal account and stuff. And I'm just, gosh, I feel bad. I feel bad also for the person who got scammed. It's just sad. Um, let's see. Let's go through the rest of these slides that I have here and see if there's anything else that needs to be seen. Now, okay, this Matrix Underworld shit. I'm telling you. Yeah, did you get catfish? No, we met. I can't explain all of this. Just please be open. I think I just need to I just need to rest. I'll think better. This is what makes me think that she was up for several days and this is what happened. Like this is what I believe immediately. This was like what when she says I can't go to the police, obviously no one in that state wants to go. I got tricked pretty much into giving away all my funds for someone I thought I loved. I've been on the streets now because this for someone I thought I loved, this doesn't 100% mean that the person she thought she loved is the one who took the money. It could potentially be a love reading like this guy um is reposting, you know. They do not know where she was sleeping. Yeah, well, it turns out where she said she didn't sleep for 3 days, right? Where's that message? Yeah, I haven't slept well for days. Where is the that she was stripped of her identity? Maybe I don't know if she was actually stripped of her identity or she was just, what if they got into her account the same way that they stole this other guy's account, you know? That could potentially be what happened too, like this guy, Jonathan, so that could be something as well. Okay, yeah. Deep hackers wiped my identity, stole all my funds, have had me on a mind fuck since Friday. And yeah, so the Venmo transaction was on the 9th. So who knows? Who knows? She could have been in an altered state. And now we also know that there is like she was on the flight with her ex-boyfriend. So this also could have triggered something on that plane of why she didn't a conversation, a something. Maybe, like stripped of her identity might also mean ego death. It could. But, the deep hackers wiped her identity and stole all her funds. You know, yeah, so many scammers. I know it's so yeah, you don't sleep on meth. That's the thing that makes me think that like not being able to sleep for days is exactly what happened to my friend. I don't understand why this lawyer is involved. Sarah Azari. I am representing Hannah Kobayashi and her family. The following statement is a response to developments we've closed. We are deeply grateful for the urgency and dedication of law enforcement has shown in investigating Hannah's disappearance. Our family remains hopeful that Hannah is safe and urges everyone to continue the search. The search is far from over. We are committed to doing everything possible to bring her home safely. We want answers and a resolution that ensures Hannah's safety and urge law enforcement and the public to stay focused on finding her to avoid speculative conclusions. Spreading awareness and sharing verified information about her case is crucial, and we deeply appreciate your continued support in these efforts. Now, this is the thing. Of course, the cops can determine that she is voluntarily missing, right? Obviously, her family that knows her still wants her home. Just like when my friend, the family brought them to the hospital and he was put in the mental ward. Within a couple hours, they let him out because legally they said he was not a harm to himself. Of course, his family still wanted him to get support. So you think deep hackers might be whatever the agenda the scanders were pushing? Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's accurate. The deep hackers might be whatever agenda the scammers were pushing with her while potentially on some type of substance. And her brain was hacked with the combo of meth and scammer bullshit. Yeah, that's what I kind of think happened there too. I totally agree with that assessment. Of course, we never know. We'll never know, And how long has it been? Let me count the weeks here. So this started on the 9th, the 8th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so we're currently about to go into the 4th week of this. 5 weeks will be December 13th. I wonder if she's going to show up and come to her senses around that time, and I really hope she does. And it's gonna be so freaking sad and devastating, and I don't know how, like, anybody can come back, like, from something like this and then realize, like, the whole world was looking for you, and then that your dad is gone now, and there's all of these videos and stuff. Usually I never cover stuff like this, because I do try to be sensitive to like real life situations, but I also just see so many people spreading information about it, and I've seen a lot of information that hasn't been shared. Yeah, so I think the lawyers may be there because they still obviously want to find her, but the police are not cooperating in an investigation anymore because their hands are tied. They can't search for someone who doesn't want to be found. That's an adult. They can search for someone who is missing, trafficked, something like that. But if someone is just running away from their family and in a mental health crisis, they can't really um and that's the thing, how the people at the Greyhound station said she was not in duress. That's the thing, like, with the person that I knew, they were not stressed. They were not in, like, a panic. Everyone around them was in a panic, but they were like, "What? I don't need a phone. I don't need an ID. What do I need that for?" Like, back in the day, people just did not come back, from the bath salt psychosis. That's true. It was permanent damage, and no pharmaceuticals could correct it. Yeah, I hope she can come back. Have any psychics tried to tap in to see if she's alive or what are her surroundings look like? Um, I think some people did. I haven't looked into it. Sloan Bella did a little something. She didn't do a video, but I saw a clip from one of her lives that she said that the father didn't kill himself. Um, but again, I feel like there's some practical information here of like he was estranged. Imagine not sleeping also. He's not sleeping for days because he's so stressed. And then the last conversation he had with his daughter could have potentially been a fight, and now she's missing, you know? The family believes that it was him taking his own life. The family said that from the first day, and the people also who were working as volunteers to find Hannah said that he, took his life. So, he could have been saying stuff like that, and, the male suicide rate is so high, and it's because, a lot of times men don't have the resources to work through their emotions in the same way. And imagine the level of emotions that are going on for something like this. We don't even know this woman personally, and it's hurting us, you know? You said you think there's more to the marriage thing. Maybe she didn't want to participate, continue. That's why she didn't go to New York. Interesting. But the person she was married to is not the person she was on the flight with. The person she's on the flight with is married to someone else, and she's married to someone else. So, and that the person that she was on the flight with are broken up. Now, who knows? They could have had a conversation on the flight that triggered her. And then she was like, "Oh, screw it. I'm just gonna go to LA," and then meets up with some people, who knows? She was at the Christina Ricci tarot reading. She could have met someone at the tarot reading and gone to Topanga and did a freaking bufo ceremony in Topanga. It's not completely like this happens, obviously. She could have gone and done a psychedelic or ceremony. She could have also, we don't know if there was any ever medications, even like a regular antidepressant or something. If you do any of that with these ceremonial medicines, um, ayahuasca, the DMT, stuff like that, you can't be mixing that stuff with pharmaceuticals. Who knows? Like a lot of people are on regular types of stuff like that. There's a lot of things that could have happened, or it could have been something else like that. It could have been a party drug that someone just said, like, oh, here, you need to stay up all night. Here, let me give you a little something. Like, oh, you need to wait until tomorrow to get your flight. Cause they say she spent the night at LAX, that they know that night she slept there. So something happened that made her miss the flight. We don't know what happens after that, you know? Okay, let's talk a little bit about this other case that is unrelated, but weirdly similar. Oh yeah, let me go through the recorded series of events. I never finished doing that. Okay. All right, let's make me small. Okay. All right. So we said what happens there and the first days. So then we know that she was at the bookstore for the Christina Ricci event. We went over the Venmo transactions. Okay, then on the 10th at 3:40 p.m., she is observed at the Grove again. The video evidence of her outside of the LeBron James event at the Nike store, we saw that. She posts a photo from this event on her Instagram. We also saw that. We saw the one that's the black and white photo. And then we saw her in the background of someone's TikTok video. And then she is believed to return to LAX at that night. On the 11th, she communicates with her aunt, mentioning that she's heading back to LAX for a new flight to New York. 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m., she communicates with an American Airlines representative but does not board the flight. She sends alarming messages to a friend claiming her identity was hacked and that her funds are stolen. One of her last messages state that I just completed a very say this was the text I couldn't find. But I'm glad it's mentioned here. I just completed a very intense spiritual awakening. I'm on my way back to the airport for New York City. I might need assistance getting there. I just completed a very intense spiritual awakening. This is what makes me believe that there was either maybe potentially she met someone at the tarot event and they said like, "Oh, the amount of times I've been invited to things like these kind of off the cuff, someone would be like, "Oh, we're doing ayahuasca in our house in Topanga this weekend. Do you want to come?" Like, it's not like, "Oh, you've done this dieta and you've prepared and you've cleansed your body and all of this stuff." It's like, "Oh, we're doing like this bufo combo ceremony this weekend. Do you want to come?" So it's not crazy that something like that could have potentially happened. She sends an alarming message. Okay, let's see if we can find this source, if it has the picture of the text message. Do we have the text? Sad. One of the last places she was seen at the crypto theater. Okay. We don't have the picture of the text message. That's okay, though. Around 10 p.m., surveillance footage shows Hannah at the downtown LA metro train station near Crypto Arena, accompanied by an unidentified individual. We know from the private investigator that they know who this person is. They know who the guy is that she was with. This marks the last known communication from Hannah with her friends and family. On the 12th, Hannah's family files a missing persons report in California. Her father travels from Hawaii to Los Angeles to assist in the search. As we know now, as of today, she already was on her way to Mexico. On the 15th, the LAPD posts about her disappearance on their Facebook page. This was on the 15th. She was already in Mexico. On the 17th, Hannah's sister Sydney releases a statement revealing that the family had viewed surveillance footage showing Hannah downtown at the metro station on November 11th. On the 21st, volunteers, including Ryan Kobayashi, conduct searches in downtown LA, putting up posters of Hannah. On the 24th at 4 a.m., he's discovered in the parking lot near LAX. On the 26th, the LAPD says that she's intentionally missed her connecting flight from LAX to New York, that she purposely did not reboard the flight. The LAPD announces that they have reviewed this video surveillance from the US Customs. This was on the 30th, which shows Hannah crossing the US border on foot into Mexico alone, carrying her luggage and appearing unharmed. December 2nd, the reports indicate that the post in the Help Find Hannah group mentions that the family will be closing the group and will not be answering any inquiries about the case going forward. Also, there's a GoFundMe. I'm hearing that I heard in a video earlier that they're going to be um, returning the money, I believe. The lawyers might be needed later on if she turns up and may have a story to tell or a book or movie to. That's true, Yvette. That might be the situation. Really sad case, honestly. We'll go quickly over this other one. I don't think, it's the same type of thing, but it is this interesting. And like I said, because, I experienced the Matrix on ayahuasca. And I literally, like, as you guys have heard, when I've talked about it in depth in that video, when I came back from Costa Rica, when I experienced the Matrix, first of all, one of the first things when I came back was, oh my God, it's so stupid that I paid all that money for a car. So it's not crazy when you blast through the veil that when you come back, the material possessions are the first thing that you find to make no sense, right? Like once I was back, I was like, what a waste of money. I spent all that money on a car. Everything's right here. There is nobody else but here. This is the only space. Why did I buy a car? So not only did I see it happen with someone else where they got rid of their possessions, when I first came back from seeing the Matrix on ayahuasca, that was my first thing is like, damn, having a car is so stupid. So it's not crazy when you and like I said, the veil between insanity and the truth of spirituality and the Matrix and reality is so fine. And back in the day, when people would have these spiritual awakenings in a more indigenous setting, or even in these esoteric settings with secret societies and things like, maybe not secret societies, but like things like the Golden Dawn and things like that, like Freemasonry and stuff like that. These, I guess those are secret societies, but they're basically like, these esoteric private groups. You were amongst elders. So now what's happening is people go into spiritual psychosis, and we've talked about this before. The spiritual psychosis is when your awareness goes from here to here, there's a bridge of what it takes to get there. And most people are not prepared for this. Doesn't mean that they're not good or whatever. Psychosis was a shamanic gift in ancient cultures. Exactly, because you were amongst teachers, amongst elders, amongst people who can hold the space for you. When people are having that experience in the modern setting, it looks like this. Before, if this happened in an indigenous setting, they're like, okay, work through it. We trust you. We support you. Let's get through it. Let's learn how to navigate. And the same thing in these esoteric societies. If this would happen to someone, they would kind of get blasted through the veil. Then they're held by the right people. But when this happens to people in our modern world, we don't have the setup for it. We don't have the ability to help them. And we're looking at it from, kind of like, what is that quote about like the birds in the cage will see the ones flying and think that they're insane? That the birds who've never been out of the cage will find the birds flying insane. And it's like, that's also another element of what's happening here because, you know, we watch on TikTok all the time, people who are clearly in the spiritual psychosis or bordering the spiritual psychosis. And it's like, because there's also no help around to ground them through these experiences. A breakthrough and then being held by scammers is the worst possible combo. Yeah. I know that's the most messed up thing. And you're so right, Ash, that's definitely what happened, is why she said her whole stuff had been wiped, because that's what those scammers do. They scare you, right? That's like they scare you in that moment so that you comply. Now, in the most recent thing, if you look at her Venmo today, since it was announced that she went to Mexico, there's a whole bunch of people like starting to send money to her Venmo and saying like, "Hey, good luck in Venmo, like good luck in Mexico. Reach out to your family." I would not suggest doing this because there's a good chance that the Venmo is no longer hers. There's a good chance that she might have also had the Venmo stolen, just like the guy did. So, although it's a nice gesture to send her the money, we also don't know if she even is in possession of the account. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Erin Valenti for a sec. Just because there is this. Okay, are we on the right one? Okay, Erin Valenti. So this is the thing. I'm sure you've probably maybe have seen this woman's photo before. Erin Valenti. And so her last text messages were, "It's all a game. It's a thought experiment. We're in the matrix. Are you in on it?" Um, they asked if she had done any drugs or alcohol. She said no. She missed her flight from San Jose to Utah. Her last known location was in San Jose. Her phone's last signal was detected in Menlo Park. She was not with her phone at the place that they found her. Her family reported her missing to the police. The police conducted a welfare check and spoke to her on the phone. Officers searched hospitals and areas where the phone was last pinged. The family launched an online campaign to find her, sharing details about the rental car. So that started on what date? October 7th, 2019. On the 12th, 5 days later after her disappearance, her body was found in the backseat of the rental car. The vehicle was parked in a residential street, only 3 or 4 blocks from where her phone was last located. There were no signs of physical harm or suicide. The San Jose police found no evidence of foul play. Blood tests showed that there was no drugs, no substances in her system. The autopsy report determined her death was due to an acute manic episode, which is very strange. Unanswered questions. How did the police find her car in the residential neighborhood? I think I did read, though, that they found it because someone saw into the car. Why did she mention the Matrix and being a thought experience? What caused the sudden behavior change and death? Now, something I want to show you guys. Let me see if I have it pulled up here. I prepared it. Um, oh, yeah, here we go. Now, this is some weird stuff here. It's weird. It also it has to do with the airport and the Matrix. Very strange. But here's something that's very interesting. Okay, so let's take a look at the airport that she was supposed to fly out of. Okay, zoom in with me here. Where are we going? Okay, so here was the airport, San Jose airport that she was supposed to fly out of, but then she ended up not getting her flight. Okay, so let's say she kind of had this awakening that we were in a matrix. She met up with some high level tech people. Maybe they talked about it being a simulation. We don't know. We don't know the details of that. But then one thing that I just find very wild is that right outside of the airport is this place called Matrix Boulevard. Matrix Boulevard. Look how far it is from. Look at this the distance is 0.5 miles between the airport. So imagine she's in this state and thinking maybe has had some type of spiritual awakening, has had some awareness to the simulation, which is true. We do live in a simulation. This is a matrix, you know? So, not saying that this is not true, but also if you are not grounded and don't have any one to kind of hold you in the way that they did in these indigenous settings, um, then look right here. 0.5 miles is Matrix Boulevard. So imagine you're getting tripped out about this stuff and then you're driving down Matrix Boulevard. I feel like it's a recipe for it to go pretty dark. There is also around here a Matrix Casino. Let me add that in too. Where is the Matrix Casino? It's spelled with an 8. Yeah, Casino Matrix. Look at this, the Casino Matrix right here. Imagine literally just right next to the .5 miles. Imagine you're going through it and all of a sudden you're passing Matrix Casino on Matrix Boulevard. It just makes me a little like, "Whew, that would suck." Now, right now it's traffic. It's 7:30 in that time. But when I looked earlier, it was only a 20-minute drive. But now because it's traffic hours, it's a 40-minute drive. But then this is where she was found. So she was last pinned here. Last pinged here. Hold on. Let's remove that. Last pinged here at this red dot. Oops. So not super far, 20 miles away from Matrix Boulevard and the airport. She was last pinged right there. And then her last known location, the one where they found her, is right here. Oops. Was this area on this street here. So I don't know. This is another one of those cases where people are saying she was taken out by someone. But again, I don't know. I don't know the truth of any of these cases. Of course, how could I? I'm not there. But, you know, it's just sad that, like, this is the nature of our reality. It is a mind fuck. However, if you are living in this matrix moment, but you're in this 3D world, like it so that's interesting. How does somebody die of a manic episode? Let me ask. How does someone die of a manic episode? Someone mentioned it in the comments before here on TikTok about when Gabby Hanna went on had a manic episode for 3 days on TikTok. That opened my eyes as well because I had already seen this. What happened to my friend was psychosis that was partly spiritual, partly drug. Um, and then they got diagnosed with schizophrenia. But what we saw on TikTok was Gabby Hanna have a 3-day manic episode posting. She posted like 800 stories, posts, not even stories, posts. She posted literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of posts. And someone went to her house and she was filming with the guy in the house. Like it was really something else. And like, unless you see it, that really identified it to me. Because when I saw the psychosis into schizophrenia, like which was very spontaneous, um, that's one thing. That is like crazy. But then like, it's hard to see because you know the person so well and they are not the person you know. Everything that I knew about this person was nothing of what that person was at that time. And the same thing of people like Hannah's friends saying this isn't like her. That's sadly because a lot of people want to talk about the mental health stuff, but it's the little cutesy girl on Instagram, like, oh my God, I have depression, anxiety. Not to diminish that, but people need to get real about mental health. These people in the street that are doing things, even violent crimes, murdering, killing, all of this stuff, that is in the mental illness as well. And those things, like, I mean, these people that are shooting schools, like, the mental illness conversation needs to get broadened because it's like, let's normalize it. Let's normalize it. And it's like, well, let's get real. It's not just things like, oh, the ADHD, the depression, the anxiety, the stress disorder, things like that. It's also this other stuff that is happening as well. The school shootings is a mental health crisis, you know? The violence, the crime, this stuff is all part of that as well. And also the psychosis stuff. Like psychosis is going to maybe continue to uptick as this stuff reality starts to change, you know? How can someone die of a manic episode? Okay, let's see. Let's put this up. Okay. While death directly from a manic episode is rare, it can occur due to several factors associated with intense psychological behaviors and changes during mania. Cardiovascular stress. Manic episodes can put strain on the heart and circulatory system. Individuals experience mania often have increased heart rate, blood pressure, metabolic demands, which can lead to cardiovascular complications. Exhaustion and dehydration. Exhaustion from acute mental illness was a common cause of death in manic patients. This condition was characterized by dehydration, fatigue, increased pulse rate. Okay. Risky behaviors. During manic episodes, individuals may engage in dangerous activities, increased risks of accidents, substance abuse. People with bipolar have higher rates of substance abuse, which can exacerbate. Okay. Neglect of physical health, suicide. Okay. So if this is the cause of her death, then it would be probably these right here. It would be the exhaustion, dehydration to extreme level, and the cardiovascular stress, the blood pressure, and the metabolic stuff. I mean, you said RFK will fix it. Glad you're hopeful. Um, yeah. I think we live in a bureaucracy. Just because someone has a good idea doesn't mean that the stages of the bureaucracy are ready. Uh, and then, okay, what if she was given some drugs without her consent, which is another possibility. Um, oh, yeah, you're meaning about Erin Valenti. That is possible that she was given something without her consent. Now, also the case with that is that like her body was found 5 days later, so we wouldn't even know. Now, there is theories that like have to do with Silicon Valley and her tech companies. Ketamine is extremely popular in Silicon Valley. Like everybody's on the ketamine all the time. And then it's like medical. People got to be careful with the ketamine. I'm just saying. I'm not a fan. I know everybody's saying that it's like all the rage and healing. I am not uh a fan, okay? Um because I don't believe that it has a spirit. I know now I sound like the crazy one, but I don't believe that has a spirit. Whereas ayahuasca, shrooms, cannabis, things like that, they have a spirit. They are a entity. The ketamine is not. And yeah, get really bad off of ketamine. Unprocessed trauma and the dysfunction of our society that leads to poor mental health. Yeah, that's so true, Helen. Let's get real with it and understand that all psychiatric and medical health conditions are rooted in unprocessed trauma. I agree with that too. Very much so. Um, yeah, exactly. Stuff that is like not these man-made chemicals. So there is that other element too, is that Silicon Valley they're also into the other stuff too. And not to say that those things can't cause psychosis, because I do know someone that went into psychosis for 7 days after doing ayahuasca, which is why I say it is not for everybody. And to make sure if you ever do any plant medicines, you don't just jump into it. Those 30 days of dieta leading to it is an important process. One, to get yourself off of any medications. Two, to be processing what could happen, working your body towards it. You're in this process of cleansing and mentally preparing yourself for something, and also for some people, it's not for everybody. At the end of the day, not for everybody. Not everybody should be doing even those plants that have spirits that are healing, you know. But the ketamine thing, that's big in Silicon Valley. They also love the ayahuasca and all that stuff because they're all like Burning Man people. So it's not completely unheard of that something could have happened with the people that she was meeting in Silicon Valley. But also, um, if there was anything, like someone said, she could have potentially been given something in a drink and not known, you know, would that have still been in her system 5 days later? So it was 5 days later that they did. And how long was she dead by that time? Let me see. Do we have information of the coroner's report? Let's see. Now, you guys know that I always talk about this like thing that years ago when I was kind of bordering into spiritual psychosis, some people went missing saying they were going to 5D, and it was all over the news that these two people went missing. I never was able to find if they were okay, so her cause of death, let's put it up on the screen. Her cause of death was the acute manic episode, sudden death. Okay, blood tests were negative for common prescription medications or other substances. Okay. She had a previous diagnosis of a thyroid condition that was treated with medication, which could have contributed to her death. However, blood samples were not satisfactory for a complete analysis. I don't know what that means. The medical examiner's office stated that a review of Valenti's electronic communication in the days scheduled confirmed symptoms of a manic episode. Authorities also indicated that a review of her medical records suggests the etiology of her final manic episode was related to an emerging previously undiagnosed psychiatric disorder. Oh, I see. Oh, and then this is when she was missing. Sad. We did a heavy topic today in our live. Who died? Erin Valenti. Okay. Wait, they're saying Hannah is dead? No, not Hannah. Hannah is in California. We're talking about Erin Valenti, who had this similar situation where she went into an episode talking about we're all in a matrix. She missed a flight going to the airport. Now we also have this uptick. Do I still have it up on my screen? Yeah, we'll put this up and then I'll be done. And then I'll be done. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Where is it? Okay. So then we have this weird thing, and I've been thinking about this. I've been kind of like um theorizing about this for a while now. Remember the woman who the crazy lady on the plane, everyone thought she saw a reptilian. I said the whole time, everyone was mad at me. She didn't see anything. She's just drunk and having an episode, and she's just like freaking out. And she's just being a Karen, but because we didn't see who she was yelling at, um because we didn't see who she was yelling at, we think it was a reptilian. But I bet you if we saw the person she was yelling at, they'd be saying she was a Karen. I said that from the beginning with all of the crazy lady on the plane stuff. However, there is this weird thing that happens where people have episodes on planes and in airports. It's very common. We've seen this, like Karens too, people who are having their Karen moment. That is a mental health crisis as well, right? I remember I said that once on TikTok and I literally had to take the video down because everybody was like, "How dare you? How dare you defend Karens?" I'm like, "I'm not defending Karens. I'm talking logically that these people, when we're watching these videos, most of the time are in a mental health crisis, not the one that ended the world in 2020, right? Not the Karen from Central Park. She was just being a racist bitch. But most of these people who are put up as Karens, they're obviously not well. They're obviously in a mental health crisis. And like a lot of times they're like obviously not okay. And they're like, that's the thing. If you don't live in a place like LA where it's happening all day in the streets, it's very hard to identify what is going on with someone. You're like, are they crazy? What is this? Okay, so here's so many cases. Let me see if there's any that stick out. An passenger under the influence of LSD walked into the aisles blessing people and tried to enter the cockpit. Oh, interesting. Um, right. Many things. So many cases. We've probably even seen, many of us have probably even seen someone lose their mind on a plane before. Some of it could be the elevation, some of it could be drinking, and then you go up and your blood gets super thin and it goes to the head. I had an incident on a plane once because someone gave me what they called a sleeping pill, and I can't take any medication. And I told the guy next to me, "I'm about to sleep for 10 hours straight." And then I was violently ill, vomiting for 10 hours. And then I was so sick by the time I caught my connecting flight in Germany that, I actually was going a little crazy on the plane then because I was like, "Get me off." But it was because I was vomiting everywhere and I was embarrassed and sick. Okay, but, like, it was a I wasn't having, like, I wasn't like, having a Karen moment, yell at anyone, but I was just vomiting everywhere. That was a long time ago. Let's see. Thyroid can be problematic if there is a crisis. So many variables to consider. I know. Sudden death of acute mania could be many things. Could be OD, could be contrary contraindicted substances, heart failure, could be renal failure, so many things since 5 days until found. I know. Who knows? I've never heard of anyone dying of mania in my years in healthcare. Yeah, they said it's very rare. And then this brings us to the Elisa Lamb situation, right? You guys remember Elisa Lamb, right? Right in the beginning, this reminded me of Elisa Lamb. Okay. So as you guys remember, there was Elisa Lamb, this woman, and remember she was in the sorry, why can't I zoom out? Oh my goodness, zoom out. Okay. Remember there was this footage of her inside the elevator. Okay, well that's okay. Yeah, remember this case? She was the woman who traveled alone to LA and then had this whole thing, and then she was found this was in the Cecil Hotel, and then she was found in the water tank on the top of the building, and they have no idea how she could have gotten in there. So again, we're never gonna know the details of this situation, although she was on medication. Let's see, she arrived in Los Angeles, 2013, checked into the Cecil Hotel. We already know the dark history connected to that. She was reported missing by her family. Last known footage was her on the surveillance camera in the elevator, exhibiting unusual behavior, erratic movements, and gestures. Her body was then discovered 19 days later in a water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel. People had been complaining about low water pressure and unusual tasting water, prompting the maintenance workers to investigate. They found Lamb's body floating in the tank alongside clothes. Um, let's see. They said it was an accidental drowning with bipolar disorder cited as a significant contributing factor. The autopsy revealed that she had traces of her prescribed medication in her system, but no signs of trauma or illegal substances. Suggested that withdrawal from the medication may have led to psychotic symptoms. Yeah, another sad case. Um, so the thing with this is like there is a fine line between, you know, it's in that video um, of Elisa Lamb. She's like, looks like she's like hiding from someone, but there's no one there. And she's hitting the buttons on the thing, but she keeps like hitting the things. And that's why the door keeps opening. So it's like she keeps thinking like it appears like she thinks someone's like following her, but there's no one there. So she could have been having hallucinations. It could have been ghosts. That place is super haunted. Everybody says it's super haunted. And what if the veil became very thin? I'm not completely discrediting that there is weird stuff happening. But LA is a very dark energy place. When this happened to my friend and I talked to their family, the family said, "Oh, we just talked to them. They're fine." And I'm like, "They're not fine." And the family's like, "No, we just talked to them." And then he went and saw another family member that was in LA, and the family member was like, "No, he was totally normal." And I'm like, "He's not totally normal. You need to listen to me." And I kept saying, "LA is the worst place to be with this problem. Get them out now. Buy them the ticket, get them a car service, get them to LAX tonight." And I was, like, literally, like, fighting with this person's family who are, like, normal, good family, thank God, but same thing like, uh, Hannah also appears to come from a good family, and I was like, "Get them out," and I was like, "You don't understand. This city is not the place. This is a bad city to lose your mind in. There are dark energies here, and this veil is very crazy," like, this is a city of angels, but there's a lot of dark stuff that happens here. So it's like this line is very thin. And if you are in a state, it's easy to also get lost here. It's not like, if someone was in a smaller city, um, maybe in like more like a Midwestern city, it would be a little easier to find them. There wouldn't be as many places to go. Here, it's countless places to go. You can blend in, it's easy to end up in Skid Row and get overlooked. It's easy to end up with any type of drug, any type of situation, mixed up in anything, you know? There's a lot of things that could go wrong here. And, with that experience, I'm so grateful that the family listened and got the ticket and got that person out. you know, in the end, it was still, eventually had taken a turn, you know, and still, last I heard the person is doing better now. Um, Fun fact, people who have bipolar, schizophrenia, and other neurodivergent disorders have higher levels of DMT naturally occurring in their brains. They apparently did some research on it. Oh, wow. I believe it. I saw a study because my best friend's mom growing up had schizophrenia. So I knew a lot about schizophrenia because, she would have episodes sometimes. And so that's the thing too, is like we also grew up around I was there every day. I lived at her house. So I was with and her mom was the best. I loved her mom. She was literally like a second mom to me and she was great. But she did have episodes sometimes. Like sometimes it'd be like 2 o'clock in the morning and she's like, "Get that skinny bitch out of my house." And I'd be like, "Please don't kick me out. Like, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm literally gonna get in trouble if I come home at this time. Like, please do not." And so, like, she would, like, sometimes have these episodes. But, so I am very familiar with that. But then to see it happen to someone who had no sign of that um, was still crazy. But, like, um so during that time, me and my friend had been looking up some stuff on the internet about schizophrenia because her mom was having an episode. And we saw that there was potentially something which I don't know because people have an onset of it and things can trigger it. But it was saying in like the old studies of schizophrenia that there might be a retina issue and that the retina issue causes hallucinations and that they're actually hallucinations because something's happening within the eye that is like a malfunctioning of the retina. Now, all of that stuff has probably been very updated now because this was like 20 years ago that we had looked that up. So there's probably way more. And the DMT thing makes a lot of sense. You think she got entangled with some negative entities at the hotel and paranormal possession stuff instead of acute extreme psychosis. Yeah. I do think there is an element. I think a lot of these things, there is a spiritual element. I think with Hannah, I think there is a spiritual element. I think she could have had a ceremony. She could have done something. She could have tried something and had a spiritual awakening type stuff with it. I think this woman, the Valenti, there could be something else. I do think there was a spiritual element when she's talking about the Matrix. Same thing with Elisa Lam. I do think that there's something. Someone said, you were right about the no alien stuff today. I'm sad. I do trust your thoughts though. Yeah. You said like floaters. No, worse than like not like floaters. Something from what I remember, and this I read this 20 years ago, so it's just like vaguely in the back of my mind. That you know how like our retina sees things upside down and then flips it for our brain, like that's happening. Something's happening in that process, they said, of like that's what I vaguely remember from this thing that I read 20 years ago. So I don't quote me, but that was something with the eye. But I also believe that the DMT thing makes the most sense, which is DMT, you see the reality, you see the matrix, right? We have natural DMT in our body. We can activate DMT in our body. That could have been something that played a part, you know, is that DMT gets activated. And then all of a sudden, you're seeing the matrix for what it is. You're seeing reality for what it is. Schizophrenia has genetic markers and predisposition to activating it based on trauma and triggers. Yeah. So I wonder if maybe there is something kind of with the eye that people have naturally, or if that's just like an outdated study. I don't know. It's the shaping of the cones and the rods of the eye that capture the color. Oh, maybe there's some type of distortion with that. Okay, let me look through TikTok and see if there was any questions or comments. Um, Weird part is that they said they had checked the water tank one time before and they didn't see anything. Oh, that is weird. The Cecil's says it all. Oh, yeah, I know, isn't it? It's so creepy. Oh, hi, Casper. Let's see. What's your POV on the recent uptake of UAPs? I just posted a video on it. Um, that it's not the invasion stuff, but UAP spotting today. You think it's time? There's a lot of everyone is I've literally had so many people text me videos that are personal. I've seen so many things on TikTok, so many things on Instagram. Everybody is seeing stuff. Now, I'll end on this and then we'll call it at 2 hours. But so when I went under hypnosis the first time, which it's on my the first time with Sarah Brexman Cosme, the first time that it's on my YouTube. Obviously, that wasn't the first time I ever went under. But we asked about Project Bluebeam. We asked about like what are the sightings? Are they real? Are they government? What is the whole thing? And so with that, it said some are government, some are real. At the end of the day, it's helping everyone become comfortable with it. So even if it's government UAPs, which is likely, a lot of these things that people are seeing everywhere are probably drones because they're drones everywhere. People are seeing them. I have friends that have seen them. I've literally got so many videos and texts from people I know in real life, and then so many from people that have been sending me them online or people like forwarding them from they see them on social media. Everyone is seeing stuff in the sky right now. So I do think there's probably drones. Most of the stuff is probably drones. However, what it said in that hypnosis is that regardless of whether it's UFO from aliens or whether it's from government, it's helping the general public to become comfortable with the idea. So it's still beneficial because we still need many millions of people to feel comfortable with this alien idea, right? Like, those of us here, we're like, okay, sure, go, bring them. But the average person still needs to get acclimated with this. So if they see something in the sky that is weird and unnatural, it would be beneficial to them to then start to integrate that and say, "Oh, okay. Well, if there is something in the sky, I did see that thing one time." And then they start to like kind of be able to integrate that reality. So it is beneficial. These are sad stories tonight, but you gave us great insight to 4 individuals. Thank you. Oh, thanks. Crime junkie, watch out because JK Ultra has the real tea. I know. So everybody's telling me that there's this John Benet Ramsey documentary, and everybody says it sucks compared to my TikTok series. So I'm just telling you, I have been getting tagged in everyone's videos on TikTok, and I don't really click on the tags because I don't really want to get involved in any drama, but everyone is like tagging me and being like, "No, you got to watch JK Ultra's John Benet series." I have so many tags. Everyone's like, "No, watch JK Ultra's series. This is the Netflix one was trash." And it's just like super random. I just keep getting them and I'm like, "Oh, this is so funny." Everybody is saying that like the John Benet documentary sucks and to just go watch my series on it. So What I would like to do is put it all in one part like I was originally supposed to and put it on YouTube. This would be a good time for me to do it and then add some additional information. Okay, well, it's getting late and I'm doing my intermittent fasting, so I need to eat before I can't eat anything for today. So, anyway, guys, this was very sad topic today, but yours is definitely better. Thanks, Natasha. Yeah, very sad topic that we touched upon today. However, um, I did want to give my insight on this situation because immediately when I saw that she was missing and I saw those text messages, I was like, oh no, sad. Which is why, while, I was posting about it, like, oh my God, like, please somebody find this girl. But I hope that she comes back. I hope that, ugh, I feel so bad about like potentially what could happen when she is back and then finds out everything that happened after she threw her phone out. My God, that's such a nightmare. I would hate to be in that position. So, sending love to Hannah. And remember, guys, if we're seeing people, say all this stuff, we want to be respectful of these situations. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. Thanks for being here for this Tuesday Night Live. Wait, what's happening next week? No, I'll still be here. But then the following week, I won't be here because I'll be on the cruise. So maybe I'll have something to post as a play on that, like, like a pre-recorded on that Tuesday. I'll see how I feel and how I do and if I have enough time. Okay, guys, love you. Good night. See you next Tuesday.